So Rory, you had mentioned earlier about data correction, and the way I heard you talking, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of data that's probably available. That's the first problem we all have.
Yeah.
Well, some of us have, but so Rory, all of this data coming in,
Mhm.
uh, is the correction involved in interpretation, or is the correction involved in picking and using the right? Uh, where does that all come in?
Well, it depends on the sensor typically. What we're working with all kinds of geospatial data. So any data that really has an XY location associated with it, we're able to handle and bring it onto our catalog. We're very data agnostic. And my focus as a remote sensing geologist with Descartes Labs is really about taking all kinds of sensor data. And the amount of sensor data, like Sahiba said, is just going to take off. Like I've heard numbers saying that, over the next 7 years, we're going to create as much data. Within 10 years, we will have more data, more recent data than anything collected in the time before that. It's just going to explode. And we need a way to be able to analyze all this data, like Sahiba said. And for the mineral exploration industry, we have many different data sets that are covering different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. And we need a way to be able to bring that data together and use it to provide solutions that our clients need to help address whether it's their exploration objectives or it is further along on the mining chain. So I'm focused more on the mineral exploration, but we have people that work in every part of that life cycle. For the most part. So for the data correction, typically the data, especially now, we have positional information that comes with it. We have collection information about the atmosphere when it's collected. What are the conditions for sun and for look angle and all the different positional information you need. And all of that gets taken into account in the corrections that we apply. A lot of algorithm development happens, to be able to bring that data onto the platform. And we have a lot of specialists that, work in our applied science team and our engineering team to help develop that capability. And we have, I don't know if you want me to go into the products that we have at all, but we have.
Well, you mentioned remote sensing.
Yes.
And I've got a note here that we want to talk about remote sensing because it is within mining, and it's going to segue into our ESG discussion too.
Yeah,
So.
it will. Yeah. So specifically for remote sensing for mineral exploration, we're interested in looking at mineral alteration that could be associated with a buried ore deposit. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to be able to map evidence on the surface, and it's really just on the surface, that could be associated with that. And so there's different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum that are characteristically associated with being able to differentiate different mineral compositions. So in the visible to infrared, it's iron oxides. In the shortwave infrared, it's the micas, the clays, the phyllosilicates, the carbonates. And then in the thermal part of the spectrum, which some sensors can collect the data from there as well, it's more the silicate minerals. So we basically, understand and know all this as a spectral geologist who's working with this data all the time. And our job is to, either we have different kinds of remote sensing data. We have multispectral that sort of has tens of bands associated with it. And then the new data sets are hyperspectral, which have hundreds of bands associated with them. And the difference between the two is that the multispectral data allows us to map mineral groups, and the hyperspectral data allows us to map mineral species. And so we're really delving into this new capability of hyperspectral data processing, which is, new sensors are becoming online and available largely through so far through the different space agencies, the German Space Agency, the Italian Space Agency, the US Space Agency. And there's more sensors that are going to be coming on a commercial basis as well, which is really going to be able to, map compositional differences and, really be able to use the data that's being collected by the mineral exploration industry that, as Sahiba said, has sat on the shelf for quite a long time. So it's a very exciting time. And we're making that data available to our clients in a very, very, very quick way.